Hi everybody, this is Scott Dudley from SaaS Startup Stories, and today my special guests are Joan Melendez and Dawon Hawkins, who are based in Seattle, Washington. Joan is the founder and Joan is the COO of Xcelrate UDI, which is a SaaS company created to help more than 450 healthcare facilities to identify and prevent the use of unsafe medical devices, biologics and supplies. Welcome to the show, Joan and Dawon. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yes, thanks so much for having us.
Excellent. Cool. Let's get straight into it then. So let's start off with your background and what initially got you interested in starting a SaaS company in the beginning.
Yeah, mine's an interesting background, I think. I was an analyst and just saw the new regulations for medical devices in the healthcare arena, and my clients were just needing solutions instead of more added work. So created a desktop application. Basically, our application lives in the system tray, and then felt that we needed to then explode it to more of a SaaS company. So that's what happened. That's how we are.
Excellent. That's always a great way to start with, starting off with a need that, or a problem that needs to be solved. I love it. Right. All right. So right in the beginning, did you borrow VC money to launch your software company, or did you bootstrap it instead? So how did you manage to get this company off the ground?
Yeah, no, a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work and good friends supporting me and, just encouraging me to continue. And the best part, I had a great client that supported the effort as well.
Okay, nice. All right. So what was the biggest challenge you had to face when you first started your SaaS company, and how did you go about overcoming that?
Well, thanks to the gentleman on the screen with me, Dawon. He really saved my company last year when the application base was stolen by a developer that I had hired. So I think that is the biggest challenge that we had to overcome, and really being able to protect the intellectual property, and also be able to build from there.
So that could have really put a spanner in the works where you never even got off the ground, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about it is that the application had already been developed, and we were in the process of converting it from one format to another format. And I'm sure, as you've had many conversations with other startups and companies that have been in business for a long time, having the right people is the cornerstone of any successful business. People that understand the value that you're bringing to the organization, that can contribute their talents, equitably and in a positive way to the further development of the business strategy, and people that are just trustworthy. And unfortunately, when you have a new technology that is really innovative and that can really disrupt the healthcare industry, personal interests can get in the way of success. And, we had to make some really difficult decisions around, who do we keep on, who do we, how do we move forward, to really make sure that the business is set up for success. And I think, through some tears and some tough decisions, we
can well imagine.
We were able to turn the ship quite successfully.
Oh, with a happy ending. So that's great. Eventually, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. So tell us a bit about how you got the first few customers to sign up for Xcelrate UDI.
Well, luckily our application is really strong. Once we demo it, and we're signed. So all of our contracts have been word of mouth. And now, we're taking it to that next level, because we've been successful in the prevention of recalled and expired items. I actually sit on the LUC, which is a learning UDI community, which there's a lot of stuff with medical devices that people don't really know about. There was like an 800% increase in recalls within 2 years, just recently. So, it's all about the prevention and the safe use of medical devices. So we're taking that, and we're really moving it to, again, a SaaS, and how can we use our application and our talents to help with the COVID crisis that we're having.
Yeah.
So, we already take care of biologics. A biologic vaccine is just a biologic. There's a lot of steps that you have to manage. And that's where we're seeing, people having severe adverse events because you have to manage the timings. There are requirements, and people don't, everybody wants that shot, but if you don't do it the right way, you're going to miss something, or the vaccine will expire from time. So there's a lot of things that, a lot of moving parts. So we just moved our application, retooled it so that on the front end, when the nurses and the vaccinators or whoever's taking care of the actual movement of that, warp speed was in the States was to distribution. There was nothing from distribution through adverse events taken into consideration. So we look at all of that stuff. So it's been really exciting challenge for us.
Absolutely. All right. So if we could go in a little bit more detail about the actual Xcelrate UDI product and what it provides its users, and also is there pricing tiers as well?
Yeah, Dawon, I'll let you take that part.
Yeah. So it's important for, I think, your listeners to understand that our business was founded on the premise that we protect patient safety at the point of care. And so, the important thing for us is to ensure that we have a technology that is nimble, that's agile, that's responsive to what's happening in the business and what's happening in the healthcare industry today. We have a core technology that uses barcode scanning and workflow automation to simplify those processes at the point to which a patient is being serviced by a healthcare professional, right? So that could be surgical services, vaccination services, et cetera. There's a lot of manual processes that make our healthcare experience less than stellar. There's opportunities for, information to be miskeyed because of a lot of manual documentation. Nurses and health practitioners are frustrated because a majority of their time is spent in front of a computer versus servicing patients who need their care. And our responsibility and our response to that is, how can we simplify that workflow so that we can give more time back to hospitals and healthcare facilities? We can strengthen the ability to have more accurate data collection, both from a services performed perspective, but also data access to information that the FDA and federal regulators provide regarding supplies that are safe for use with patients. And unfortunately, what we find, both in the surgical space as well as which is happening right now, in the vaccine space, there are so many challenges with having access to good information to make quality clinical decision-making around, can I use this product with a patient? Is this going to cause more harm to the patient than it is providing them a service? Is this product even something that should be part of our hospital supply altogether? We answer all of those questions through our technology and make it seamless for our customers.
So what, pretty much like a click of a button, it will give you an answer to what you should be using in this particular situation. Is that a fair assessment? Or
I would say more of a scan, right? Because what we do is use barcode scanning to scan the medical device. And then all of the information that is critical for that particular device. And when we say device, that's everything from Band-Aids to pacemakers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. And so at a scan, what we're able to do is ping the FDA's databases to make sure that that device, which has already been registered, et cetera, to make sure that it's safe for use, that it hasn't expired, that there's no recalls against it, there's no what we call adverse events. So if patients have experienced issues with those particular devices before and those have been reported, those are the adverse events. We validate all of that information at the point of scan. So and that's all real time. So if there is a recall that is notified, if we're notified of a recall or the FDA is notified of a recall, within the next minute, if there's an item that is captured within that recall, we automatically flag and alert that healthcare professional to say, this product should not be used, or here's some information that you need to know. Please review this before you decide to move forward. And by doing that, we're able to prevent these really dangerous, potentially dangerous items from being implanted or potentially used with, with patients.
Yeah. So,
yep. And we've taken that one step further with the vaccines, right? Because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
With the prevention and looking at adverse events. So we look at adverse events, anything that's been recalled, we stop it. We block, we put up a warning saying this item has been recalled. Same thing with the vaccines now, because we have those timings, right? We have 2 hours to use the vaccine, the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. They have 2 hours to use it once it's been pulled into the syringe. Right.
Okay. Yep.
So there's 5 hours between the time you take it out of the freezer to the time you put the diluent in. So there's all these timings. So at any point, if it's outside that 2 hour window, for example, they get that warning, stop, you can't use this syringe. That way we're not injecting a time sensitive item.
Yes.
Understand. It's all about prevention, because we want acceptance, right? We want people to believe in the vaccine. I mean, there was just this last weekend with California saying everybody stop using the Moderna, and it was traced to a refrigeration problem at a location. So we're tied in to the manufacturer. So we're tracking as soon as they ship that item with the temperature tracks, we're getting that feed. So at any point during distribution, once it gets put in the hospitals or whatever healthcare facilities storage unit, we're still tracking the temperature. They pull it out of that storage unit, we're tracking the temperature. It's biologic, so you have to track these things every few hours. So, and that's not being done right now.
Yeah, so I'm sort of curious. So could you say that you guys are pioneers, or is there competition for this, or what do you reckon?
Well, the competition is heating up for sure. We certainly have been in this space. Again, we kind of liken ourselves to be healthcare disruptors. Because I think a lot of healthcare providers, if you talk to them, they've kind of accepted the fact that the way that they operate, their day-to-day operations in terms of the amount of paperwork that they have to fill out, the amount of manual entry that they have to do, the lack of visibility that they have to real-time information about the efficacy of the supplies, and the trust that the supplies that they have in their facilities are that they are being value checked. Again, we're talking about point of care. So you're talking about nurses and physicians and surgeons who don't have really a lot of insight into the back office, right? Supplies that are coming in, what's being value checked, what is approved for use. All they know is they come in, I'm going to do a surgery, they're going to bring the supplies in, or I'm going to perform a vaccination, they're bring the supplies in, and those should have already been value checked before they got there. So for us, it's really about making sure that we're providing a solution to mitigate any concerns at the point of care, particularly at the point of care, because that's where patients need it the most. And as it relates to, competitors, there are, certainly there are other, barcode scanning companies that are out there. But we are, by and large, we have the best data set of medical device and vaccine data to date. We're pulling in data from multiple sources to have the most complete data set for our clearinghouse of information. We operate in real time. And quite frankly, one of the biggest differentiators for us is that we're plug and play ready to go. A lot of the other competitors, if you look at, those that are out there, they either are targeting a more of a supply chain compliance track, meaning they're all about just tracking how, from order through use, just inventory management, whereas
Yeah.
we're focused on patient care. So our
Okay.
interface is specifically designed, to provide that real-time identification, that real-time prevention, and the real-time documentation, and fully complying. We're the only provider that's out there that's what's called CERT certified by the Office of the National Coordinator, which
Okay.
is a governing body for
Yep.
healthcare technologies to capture and provide the appropriate documentation into the health record, so that if there was ever an issue beyond the point of care, there is an easy way for manufacturers and healthcare providers and government agencies to notify quickly and easily notify patients of an issue that is concerning them. Think about it this way, and I don't know if you have a car, but every single car has a VIN number, right?
Yes.
And that's so that if there's anything that goes wrong, if your fuel pump needs to be replaced, or if there's an issue with the tires that you have, there is a way for the manufacturer to contact the car owner through the VIN number. Well, in the same way, every single medical device and vaccine, and for that matter, personal protective equipment, PPE,
Yep.
all of these supplies have a number. It's a unique device identifier that allows these government agencies and manufacturers to be able to trace that particular product from manufacturer all the way down to patient. And we're the only ones that are really providing that full suite of visibility,
Yeah.
inventory control, point of care documentation, point of care prevention, and traceability from manufacturer all the way to patient,
Yep.
which really puts us a cut above the rest. Now, will there be others that will, that will model after, our offering? Absolutely. That's, just like there's Wendy's, there's McDonald's. So you're always going to have that choice, but I think at the end of the day, our differentiator is the fact that, we're in this for patient safety. We're in this to make sure that we're doing this to promote the effective use of healthcare support at the point of care. And our technology stack reflects that.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we also have an equity program to benefit those underserved communities, our Black and Brown communities, so that we can ensure that that our application is available for everyone for prevention.
Yeah.
Diversity, inclusion, and equity is also a really strong part of our core values. We're a woman-owned, Latinx, minority-owned business certified in the state of Washington. And it's really important for us to be a beacon of hope for, for patients, not only in the technology that we serve, but also in access to equitable healthcare. So we've already identified a couple of healthcare partners that we will offer our solution to at no or little cost. And that's because, again, they are predominantly serving underrepresented communities and underfunded communities that don't have access to quality healthcare. And so whatever ways that we can help influence the inequities that exist within the healthcare community, right? Both from a technology standpoint and from an access standpoint, that's where you'll see us showing up.
Okay. All right. So as far as team size goes, how many employees do you have working at the moment for the team?
There's 5 of us.
Oh, okay. Pretty small, but growing quick, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we have, we outsource certain kinds of elements of our business operations. As you think about like just starting up a business, you don't always have the funding to be able to bring everything in house. So, part of our sales force is external, part of it is internal. We have our marketing and PR that's external, and parts of our technology team are external. But we're a small but mighty team. We are all wearing a lot of very different hats.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But that's very common in the startup space.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So are you able to elaborate at all on your product roadmap for the next 12 to 18 months?
I can take that. Right now, we are keenly focused on vaccine support.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
We launched our new product called UDI Vitals, which is a vaccine management software that does very much a lot of what we've been talking about. In addition to that, we're really going to be leveraging our data warehouse called UDI Clearinghouse. And this is really a game changer, especially for health organizations, federal agencies, and manufacturers, because unfortunately, data collection at the point of care is not as sophisticated as one might expect. Okay. And what our application is able to do is we're able to tell manufacturers or hospitals or these agencies, we're able to tell how many items were used with patients, how many items were prevented because there was some kind of challenge with that particular item. It was either recalled, for various reasons. There were adverse events that they decided to move with another product. So we actually, in addition to providing all of that really unique data around use, waste, and return, we're also able to provide really great data around real-time prevention. So if you've ever seen like those commercials where, it's about, somebody that's experienced a problem with some kind of a medical device, or an implant, whether it's a shoulder implant, some kind of a mesh that's gone in the body. You see these commercials all the time. They're by these lawyers. And the reason that those exist is because there have been items that have been recalled, and deemed not safe for use, but because of the challenges, the process challenges at the provider's location, those items are still in hospital supply, or they're still within supplies of these medical facilities, and somehow they make their way into patients. And the recall business alone, the recall industry is at least $6 billion industry, right? So every year, your healthcare costs, at least within the United States, consume $6 billion that's attributed to just tracking and responding and reacting and litigation for things that were implanted in individuals that should have never been implanted. So the opportunity is huge. What that means is that there are hundreds of thousands of patients every single year that have things implanted or used on them that should have never touched the human body, right?
Okay.
So
that's an eye-opener.
It's the unsung epidemic, right, of the healthcare industry that we are solving. And so when we look at the next 12 to 18 months, part of it is just getting our arms wrapped around and helping to support the COVID-19 pandemic vaccination effort. That's mission critical for most nations around the world.
Yes.
The other part of it is how can we make available our data set, our really complete data set of point of care utilization and prevention to these manufacturers, health agencies, et cetera, so that we can significantly improve not only the visibility of what's happening in the marketplace so that it's less conjecture, but it's more about real-time insights and data, but then also how can we make more informed decisions around what technologies and devices that are potentially harmful are still out there in circulation that pose significant risk to patients, healthcare providers, and the manufacturers.
Okay. So what would you say are the most common mistakes that inexperienced software founders make, in your opinion and your experience?
Sorry. I think it's really based on not listening to the customers. There people are wanting to develop these things or copy something, like I'm sure that, our application, because it's so unique and so strong on patient advocacy, that it's something that's going to be tried to be copied, but they don't have the understanding of the workflow. You know what I mean? So, I've been in healthcare since I was in my teens. Okay. I ran a family practice clinic, and that was my job, to take care of making sure the vaccine cards were in order for all of the kiddies, so I was doing that at 14. So, it just fast forward, and technology is a great thing. So, but I still have that underlying knowledge of a good process, how that when we're starting to do these first and second doses, and if you're running out of stock, you have to prioritize those second doses, over a primary dose. So, just using technology to really boost that as well.
Yeah. All right. So what about churn or losing current customers? I would imagine with what you're doing, there wouldn't be too much churn. That wouldn't really be too much of a problem with you guys, would it?
Yeah, not entirely. We're a subscription based.
Yeah.
We provide a subscription based service, and so the value proposition of our solution once it's installed is pretty significant.
Yes.
But we do experience churn. Last year, was a challenging year for everyone, and as you can imagine, and specifically in the healthcare industry, hospitals and medical facilities had to significantly cut back on elective surgeries. And that's the moneymaker for the hospitals. That fund,
Okay. Yeah.
those kinds of things fund, the hospitals and endeavors. And so when those things cut back, you have a lot of facilities that are closing. You have some healthcare facilities that have, a complete building that's closed because that building is dedicated towards, let's say, performing plastic surgery, right? But plastic surgery is for the most part, elective surgeries, and that completely goes down. So we've experienced our fair share. We had some right sizing at the beginning of this year, with some of our biggest clients that had to reduce some service because they just simply did not have the facilities open to be able to utilize our subscription. And that's just the name of the game. I think that the important thing is to be planful. If I were giving advice to anyone out there who's thinking of, building a startup or that's in the midst of doing that, is to be really, really thoughtful about what's happening in the industry, what's happening in economics, what's happening that may potentially influence, your go forward strategies. And, that kind of churn, that kind of turning of customers, it forces us to really think critically about, do we have the right people in place? Are we delivering at the right pace? What does our sales funnel look like so that, if we are losing customers or we are losing subscriptions, like that's just part of the business, do we have the appropriate sales funnel in to bring additional opportunities into the fold? And, we're looking very optimistically into this new year. Last year was really tough for everybody. We had a really tough first quarter this year just because, we had to right size some of the reductions in service that we've experienced, but it's also reinvigorated, us from a sales perspective to amp up, our messaging around the value that we're bringing and making sure that we're getting in front of potential new customers to let them know that, we're a service that's not only just here, but we're providing a really value added solution to meet some very real, very significant problems that healthcare facilities are facing today.
Yeah, and I guess word of mouth would be a really useful sort of channel for you guys too, wouldn't it? Sort of to bring in new customers where your customers refer other customers as well.
Yeah, we're going through that right now. Joan, do you want to share a little bit about the word of mouth?
So that's how our base has really been built, is by word of mouth. Right now we're, looking at, like a few additional new clients based on previous, even other analysts who know our application, who've seen our application. They're starting to refer quite a bit as well. And then we're looking now at, some potential government exposure, so in the States. So, because we are, as Dawon mentioned, we're a women minority business, and we're certified in the state of Washington. We're able to apply for, jobs that the governments are actually putting out here.
Oh, okay. So what, grants as well? Is that what you're referring to, or government grants?
It's more about business opportunities, right?
Oh,
especially if you think about, rollout strategies just for supporting COVID. There are a lot of opportunities statewide and even local municipalities that are launching their own, that have been funded to launch their own COVID response, and they need support. And I think not only does our technology is our technology a differentiator in this space? Because again, what we're providing, but also, and the fact that, as a woman and minority-owned business, we bring a certain degree of expertise to the table, as well as, we have the opportunity to help fulfill some of the commitments that our politicians and communities have made around diversifying the pool of vendors that are being leveraged and providing more opportunities to smaller companies like us, to get into that space where we otherwise might not have had the same opportunities. When you're going up against, Microsoft, right? Yeah. And frankly, in this space of vaccine management, that is one of our competitors. And quite frankly, our application stack, when compared side by side to what Microsoft is offering, is far superior, right? But we don't have the name recognition that Microsoft does, but we do have, again, a technology that is superior, a technology that is tried, true, tested in the market, right? But then also, we're bringing together that element of innovation and support from a perspective of diversity.
Excellent. Okay, so what are you curious about or researching right now regarding software and technology?
Oh, just everything. There's so much to, to look at. One of the things, because of COVID, it's again, how do we protect patients? How do we keep them from having to sit in these lines for 10 hours, trying to get a vaccine and then be turned away? So where can we take advantage of technology to assist in that part that, is out of our wheelhouse, but, it really isn't, because it's still patient management. So we're just always researching new ways and how to present the data back so that it's useful for everybody. I like just basic information. I want to see numbers. A lot of people like to see the pretty stuff in graphs. So, looking at that kind of thing so that we have that mix of data for our users.
Nice. All right. So just to wrap up, where can people go to find out more about Xcelrate UDI?
Yeah, you can find us at our website at www.xcelrate, and it's Xcelrate UDI.com. You can find us also on LinkedIn and your social channels.
Excellent. All right then. Thanks for being on the show, Joan and Joan. I appreciate your time. That was fantastic.
Thanks you so much. It's great.
No worries.